Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 56th episode of In the Trenches, Crawl's weekly cyber threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 24th of June, and my name is George Glass, an Associate Managing Director in the Cyber Threat Intelligence team. This week, we are joined by Mukesh Nagar, Ryan Hicks, and Dan Cox, who are all from our CTI team. As always, we'll be covering the most recent trends our threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. So let's get into the situation report. Crawl has seen evidence the latest version, that's version 1.9.2, Still C information stealing malware, released on June 17th by an actor using the handle Plymouth, has been updated to include an offline-only mode so that it can be used locally during an active intrusion without having to generate network traffic. Still C malware is often used by threat actors to quickly extract credentials from an endpoint during intrusions in order to move laterally. We've seen this used with Vidar Stealer as well, and Redline and many others. Version 1.9 was also released on June 8th with an additional obfuscation and a DLL version of the Stealer. We're actively investigating this one and we'll bring you more information as we have it. Next is a new report from the French CERT, which details reports how KTA 014, aka Nibelium or APT29, exploit vulnerabilities in widely used software, employs spear phishing campaigns, and leverages supply chain attacks to gain access to parts of ongoing espionage campaigns against embassies, consulates, and government institutions. KTA 014 leverages vulnerabilities in popular software, spear phishing, and uses other public tools such as Cobalt Strike and Brute Ratel to gain and maintain access to target environments. A really good report to read there if you're interested in that particular threat group and APT activity. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, please get in touch with us using cti@kroll.com. So let's get into the rest of today's briefing. Today we're going to cover the following trends our team is concentrating on. Mukesh will be covering a new Ivanti EPM vulnerability. Ryan will be talking about WARMCOOKIE in the malware spotlight. And finally, Dan will be covering this week's Ransomware Roundup. So Mukesh, tell us some more about this critical Ivanti vulnerability, please.
Thanks, George, and hi, everyone. So a critical SQL injection vulnerability has been discovered in Ivanti's endpoint manager. This vulnerability has been tracked as CVE 2024-29824 and has a CVSS score of 9.8. The vulnerability allows remote code execution due to an improper SQL query handling in the patchbiz.dll component. The vulnerability discovered by Zero Day Initiative and Ivanti can be exposed through the /WS status events endpoint, and attackers can manipulate HTTP requests to execute arbitrary commands demonstrated by running, which has been demonstrated by running notepad.exe. Indicators of compromise for this vulnerability include MS SQL log showing XP_CMD shell usage. We recommend immediate patching and log monitoring to take place in order to prevent exploitation as well as to detect exploitation at the earliest stage. That's everything from me, George, regarding the vulnerability.
Thank you very much, Mukesh. Ryan, let's talk about WARMCOOKIE. Please let us know what you've been researching.
Thanks, hi everyone. WARMCOOKIE is a backdoor malware deployed to a victim's device for that kind of initial reconnaissance, persistence, and then used to deploy additional payloads from there. Looking at initial access, typically through phishing links, and Elastic Security Labs recently observed campaigns where WARMCOOKIE was delivered through recruiting and job-themed phishing emails. And clicking on the link in the email would take the victim to a malicious website disguised as the job-seeking website called Michael Page. A legitimate version of that site is used for accounting and finance postings. So the campaign is possibly targeted towards the financial sector. However, it could just as easily be used against any other sector, really, that kind of job themes phishing. And the law website leads to the user downloading a JavaScript file, and the contents of that file is shown on the right-hand side there. When the file is executed, WScript's process spawns a PowerShell process, And then PowerShell then uses the background's intelligent transfer service, or bits, to download a DLL file from a malicious IP address. And that's that bit right in the middle in green, where it's grabbing the file there from the malicious IP. Then run DLL32 exe is used to load the malicious DLL, which is at the bottom of that file. And then following the DLL execution, which that DLL file is sort of warm cookie itself, if you will, discovery activity starts to occur. Firstly, identifying the DNS domain, computer name, and the username of the victim device. Next slide, please. So looking at persistence, so quite simply, there's a scheduled task is created as persistence under the name of RTL UPD, and that's scheduled to run every 10 minutes. And then for the further actions of the backdoor, really typical of any backdoor beacon, I suppose, there are a number of commands available to the threat actor once it's established, including retrieving those kind of discovery details, recording screenshots, reading and writing files, deleting persistence, as well as most importantly, I guess, command line execution. And that process tree you see in the middle is the visual output that would appear when a threat actor runs that kind of command line execution through WARMCOOKIE on the victim device. And noting here, you see that on the right hand side of that tree is the malicious DLL RTL upd.dll running from the temp directory run by run DLL32. And just a few kind of picked out detections or hunting opportunities for this activity. So looking at the scheduled task creation, particularly under that name, of course, that could change. So that's more likely to be sort of short-term hunting. Looking for scheduled task creation under suspicious processes. So things like W scripts at the beginning of that chain. Importantly, PowerShell process containing anything related to the bits transfer as an alert. Of course, that initial aspect of the campaign was that downloading of the DLL file. And then the bottom relates to run DLL32, particularly on this last one where I mentioned about the temp directory. So looking for run DLL32 with a command line, with any kind of suspicious command line, such as the DLL running from a temp directory. Definitely recommend kind of hunting or detecting on that. And that's all for me. I'll hand back to you, George.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Really appreciate that. Dan, we have another new ransomware group and some law enforcement activity against Lockbit actors. Please tell us more about it.
Hey, definitely. Thanks, George. Hello, everyone. First up, this week's Ransomware Roundup. We do have BrainCipher. It's another new ransomware group using Lockbit 3.0 builder. And BrainCipher does not have a leak site yet that's known, but the group has been threatening data publication in their ransom notes. TTPs on the group are still limited. Known attacks so far have claimed phishing emails and compromised RDP credentials. And next up, we have two major arrests across the ransomware scene. The first one being its 28-year-old Ukrainian native suspected of designing and building cryptors for both Lockbit and Conti's operations. At this time, oh, sorry, I skipped to the wrong line. So this arrest came after Ukrainian police received intel from a Dutch law enforcement agency. And throughout the attack, or throughout the raid, several hard drives, laptops, and notebooks were recovered. And the defendant is currently facing up to 15 years in prison. And on the second major arrest that we've had, we have a 22-year-old British national that was arrested at a Spanish airport. The defendant, Tyler Buchanan, is commonly known for using the Tyler B moniker, very creative, and accused of profiting over $27 million from attacks on at least 45 US companies. Scattered Spider has known ties with the AlphaV/Black Hat and Ransom Hub ransomware groups. They've been attributed to multiple large attacks, such as those against the MGM and Caesars casinos, the Okta, Twilio, and LastPass attacks, and several other just very large attacks that have now kind of stemmed out and have been discovered across different ransomware groups. And that's all I got. Back to you, George.
Thank you very much, Dan, and thank you, Mikesh and Ryan, for also presenting today. And that's all we have for this week. If you have any comments or questions, please do reach out to us using cti@kroll.com. That's cti@kroll.com. Have a great day. Thank you.